Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating critique of the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, or CVSS, from a perspective you won't often hear. It's a passionate piece. And let's just say the author isn't a fan.
Intriguing. I've always wondered about the practical application of CVSS. Is this article arguing that the system is fundamentally flawed?
Exactly. The author, deeply involved with the curl project, a widely used internet transfer tool, argues that CVSS is simply inadequate for assessing the real-world severity of vulnerabilities in complex software. The system's rigid structure and limited input factors often lead to inaccurate and misleading scores, especially for projects like curl, which has billions of installations across countless platforms.
So the problem isn't just with the scoring itself, but with how it's applied to diverse software? I see.
Precisely. The author highlights how security scanners heavily rely on CVSS scores to flag vulnerabilities. This creates a situation where even minor issues, correctly assessed as low risk by the curl team, are often inflated to critical levels by automated systems. This leads to unnecessary alerts and, in some cases, even contractual obligations to address these false positives.
That's a serious issue. It sounds like the system incentivizes inaccurate reporting, potentially leading to wasted resources and unnecessary panic.
Absolutely. The author points out that the curl team has abandoned CVSS altogether, opting for a simpler four-level system: low, medium, high, critical, based on their intimate knowledge of the codebase and its usage. They believe this approach provides a more accurate and helpful assessment for their users.
Interesting. So they're essentially saying that context matters more than a single numerical score. But doesn't the CVE system require CVSS scores?
That's where things get really interesting. The author explains that while the curl project is a CNA CVE numbering authority, meaning they assign their own CVE IDs, the CVE system itself is built around the assumption that every vulnerability has a CVSS score. This leaves the curl project's CVEs without scores, which are then amended by an authorized data publisher, ADP, currently CISA.
And CISA, lacking the deep understanding of curl's codebase, essentially guesses at the CVSS score, often wildly misrepresenting the actual risk. Right?
Exactly. The author gives a compelling example of a curl vulnerability initially rated as critical, CVSS 9.1, by CISA, despite the curl team's assessment of low risk. This led to widespread alarm before the author intervened and got the score revised down to 3.4. The whole process is described as arbitrary and potentially harmful.
It seems like a classic case of a well-intentioned system failing due to its inability to handle the complexity of real-world scenarios. It's almost comical, in a tragic sort of way.
It is. The author even mentions that the Go security team faces similar problems, highlighting that this isn't an isolated incident. The article concludes with a call to reform the system, arguing that a single, one-dimensional score is simply insufficient to capture the nuances of software vulnerabilities. The love of CVSS, the author suggests, is strong, and there's a lot of money involved in maintaining the status quo.
A powerful argument. It makes you wonder if the focus on a single, easily digestible number is ultimately counterproductive to effective security.
Absolutely. It's a thought-provoking piece that challenges the assumptions underlying a widely used security metric. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. Hey, Renshin. We hope you found this discussion insightful. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.